Hello and welcome to the channel where I do multiple reading vlogs at the same time, and instead of finishing them I just keep adding more reading vlogs on top of it. How you doing? Welcome to the fourth reading vlog that I'm recording at the same time. Am I going crazy?
A little bit.
This reading vlog is actually a collaboration with the great, the unique, the marvelous Philippa Books. If you've been paying attention to our channels, you've noticed that a couple of days ago we published two videos, one in each channel, where we were going through all the books that we read in common, and we were fighting over our favorites and trying to achieve the two best books that we read in common, one on our channel, one on my channel. If you haven't seen those videos, I'm gonna wait here and let you go watch it. It's half an hour each video, roughly, so I'll stand here for 1 hour waiting for you to go do that. Spoiler alert, the books that won on that ultimate competition of books we read in common were Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe and A Court of Thorns and Roses. What do they have to do with each other? Absolutely nothing. Young adult, fantasy, marvelous. I thought it was marvelous when I first read it. Would reread now. Please don't make me reread it again. And yet here we are, reaching the conclusion that these were the two best books that we read in common. Please forgive me. You know I love you. You always have a special place in my heart. Please forgive me. You know no one can really replace you. Together forever. But if you thought that our video concept idea was purely making those two videos, think again. Don't you know us by now? There's always something else. Things can never be that simple with these two crazy friends. We thought it would be fun to find two favorites, but then try and find two other books that, according to you guys, are similar to those, and read them, and hopefully they would also become our favorites because they're similar to something that we consider very good, so hopefully they're also very good. If not, it's your fault because it was your recommendation. Gotcha. We published on our stories a couple of days ago the topics that we seem fit for each of the books. Topics for this and topics for this, without revealing what we were doing or which books we were talking about or what we wanted. We just said, recommend me a book that you think it's similar to this. Lots of you came through and delivered great suggestions. We then narrowed it down and down and down, and we cut your suggestions and cut some more and got rid of some and this and that, based on books we had already read, books that we read the synopsis and we didn't think they were that similar to the thing, books that we simply didn't want to read, and a bunch of other things, until we got two books, one similar, supposedly, for each of these books. Actually, I think the one that we're going through, similar for this book, didn't really come from any of your suggestions because we didn't get that many suggestions for this book. You failed us, guys. You failed us. So we went on the amazing YouTube world and we saw those videos of, if you like this, you'll probably like this, and we found one. So without further ado, let me present to you the two books that we are going to be reading, the two of us, during this reading vlog, and trying to discover if there are in fact similar to these two. So the first one, and also the only physical book that I bought on purpose for this, and the other one I didn't, is the one that we are using for being similar to The Court of Thorns and Roses. And that book is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This is fantasy, guys. I'm nervous, but also let me tell you that I already read the first 3 chapters of this book, 38 pages, and I'm loving it. It's been really good so far. It is claimed to be fantasy, obviously, but also to have romance in it, which is my jazz. That's what I need to appreciate a fantasy. I cannot read just high fantasy just by itself. So this one, maybe, you know, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Who knows? And yes, there is fantasy and there is romance, and I'm here for that. But more updates on this book later on. Then the second book that we're going to be reading, as soon as we finish the Ravens one, is going to be the one that was recommended by you guys for being similar to Aristotle and Dante. And that book is Ziggy Stardust and Me. And it's about this guy that is obsessed with David Bowie, and he has like an imaginary world in his head where David Bowie is or something. It's gay, it's YA, and it's supposed to be fab. So that's what's happening during this week for this reading vlog. We're gonna be reading these 2 books. I'll give you updates as we go of what we think, and hopefully at the end of the day we will both give both of these books 5 stars, and they will become our favorites, and your suggestions and also the suggestions of the booktube in general will be correct, and then we can all move on with our lives knowing that all of us, we are great and we give great suggestions. Oh, and before I forget, don't forget to go and watch Philippa's video after this one if you haven't watched hers already. If you have, then please stay here and watch my video, okay? Alright, bye! Day 1 of this reading vlog, it's a wrap. It's now 1:30, 1:45 a.m. I'm gonna suffer in the morning when the sun rises from my huge window. But we've been reading An Enchantment of Ravens. We've been doing like a Discord call. In the beginning, Claudia was there as well. The 3 of us were just reading, and now at the end it was just me and Philippe reading together, as in like together but not together, you know. We mute the microphones and we just keep each other company, I suppose, and every now and then we talk about the book and what's happening. So I'm going to chapter 8, that's on page 98. I read 100 pages today, not so bad. Felipe is 1 chapter ahead of me, but she's gonna keep reading now because she's not as tired because she didn't wake up as early as I did. So I'm gonna go to sleep, and then I'll speak to you in the morning, let you know where Felipa stopped reading, and then we'll try and catch her up. So far I'm finding this very funny. It's easy to read, it's easy to follow the story, and yeah, I'm actually quite surprised that I'm enjoying a fantasy book. I think Felipa has been saying in her vlogs exactly what's happening with the story, but I can't really be bothered to do that. It would be cool, but I can't be bothered, and then on editing I'll probably cut it all off because I'll think the vlog is too long. So I'm sorry, I'll just give you a synopsis probably at the end of the book or something. Anyway, I'm really tired, I'm really sleepy. I'm gonna get sleep. I'm gonna get sleep, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye! Hello, my people! Some days have passed and I have finished An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. So, lots of things to say about this book, even though I'll probably forget them all because all the things that I had to say I already said them to Felipa last night when I finished the book, and we've been discussing the book along the way, so all my thoughts have already been conveniently delivered to Felipa, which would have been cool if I had also delivered them in this vlog, but yes. So, this is a fantasy book, and this is about this girl called Isabel, and she's a mortal, and she meets Rook, the prince of the Autumn Court. She's the master of craft. Craft is basically all the things that humans do: read, write, cook, in her case, painting. She's a portrait artist. All the immortals, the fair folk, they are obsessed with the human crafts, all the things. And they cannot do craft themselves. If they touch craft, they like hurt and disappear and turn into ash or something, whatever. So Isabel is a portrait artist and she lives by painting portraits of the fair folk, and in payment they give her enchantments. So she has an enchantment that protects her house and her family and nothing bad can happen to her. It's really cool. So one day she meets Rook, the autumn prince. She paints a portrait of Rook, but something goes wrong in that portrait. I'm not gonna say what it is, not to spoil it. Suki, do you mind? Let mommy record the update. The people need to know what this book is about. Something goes wrong with Rook's portrait, and as a punishment, he decides to kidnap her and take her to the autumn lands. And I don't remember what he was going to do with her initially. But then, like, not even halfway through the journey of them going to the autumn lands, he changes his mind and decides to take her back. So the entirety of the book is them running back to return her home. But things happen along the way, and there's dangers, and there's mystical creatures chasing them and trying to kill them, so they have to fight and come up with plans, and that's basically it. Now, I really enjoyed the book. There's romance, they are both very sassy. Rook doesn't really understand the mortal situations, so it's funny when Isabel tries to explain to him what's happening or why certain things are happening or why it's wrong to do certain things. Is Suki annoying you as much as she's annoying me right now? Because it's really hard to keep focused with the little dog barking. Right, so it's funny, Isabel is very sassy in her answers, and there's a few other characters that are introduced to the story along the way, and they're all very sassy, and I really like the comebacks, and this book has a really good humor, and it had me giggle at some point, and also going like, oh, to the romance. I was really enjoying the book, and for me it was a solid 4 stars all along the book, because I was also surprised the fact that I was enjoying this fantasy. It's a really soft fantasy, really easy to follow. There's not a huge world build or magic powers or anything. Everything is explained like you are dumb, which I assume is gonna annoy some people, but for me, who am not into reading fantasy, I do appreciate having the overly complicated explanations on what is happening, and like when something happens regarding something that already happened in the past, that's also explained how the things were linked, and I also really appreciate that. For me, a solid 4 stars all along the book. However, the ending, I couldn't roll my eyes enough to this book. The ending was just so easy. I'm gonna go into spoilers now, so if you haven't read it or you want to read it still, just jump the entire section that says spoilers. Basically, they broke this law that is called the good law, which is when a mortal and an immortal fall in love. Obviously, Isabel and Rook fell in love. And the punishment for breaking that law is death. However, Isabel is given the chance of drinking from the green well, which is this well, if you drink that water, you become immortal yourself. Easy peasy, right? They would be together forever. But Isabel refuses to drink from that well because she doesn't want to be immortal, because her craft is everything to her and she doesn't want to lose the ability to paint and have her craft with her. So she refuses. Hence why the punishment is death. But they just start running away, and then they go to see the king of the entire land, and Rook challenges the king for a fight until the death, until one of them dies and the other one is the king. But then they start fighting, and Rook is just like, no, actually, I'm gonna run away. So he grabs Isabel, and they start running away. Meanwhile, Rook starts getting really weak and losing his magic along the way, whatever. But they run away so easily from that massive fight, supposedly. And they go to Isabel's house, and then they are in there, and the king shows up, and Isabel kills him, and it's also so easy for her to kill him. It makes no sense. She literally grabs a dagger and goes like, puff, and he dies. And then, obviously, because Isabel was the one who killed the king, she's the one who becomes queen. So she marries Rook, so he can be king. But everything at the end happens so easily and so quickly, and it's just so silly, I couldn't roll my eyes enough to it. So at the end, I ended up reducing this to a solid 3.75 stars, which is still a 4 star on Goodreads, and I still appreciate this book, and I still had fun reading it. It's just the ending, come on. Come on! But still, overall, I'm very surprised that I actually enjoyed reading a fantasy novel. Now, the whole point of this vlog was comparing this to the books that are our favorite. So this was being compared to A Court of Thorns and Roses. And I do see the similarities, especially in the beginning of the book and when the world is being introduced and the characters. there was so many things. I should have taken notes. I thought so many times to myself I should be taking notes, and I never started taking notes. But especially in the beginning, there was a lot of things that did in fact remind me of A Court of Thorns and Roses. The more obvious one being the fact that they have the seasons courts. Summer court, winter court, obviously here they call it Summerlands, Winterlands, etc. But still the same concept. Also the fact that the immortal, Rook in this case, kidnaps her to take her to his court, also similar to A Court of Thorns and Roses. Even the fact that Rook was from the Autumnlands. I believe that the main character in The Court of Thorns and Roses is also from the Autumn Court, if I'm not wrong. I mean, if you've read that series, you know that the main character keeps changing, but I think in the first book he's from the Autumn Court. I'm not sure, don't quote me, but I think so. Obviously, the love story, very intense and cute, like that. I'm sure there was more things, like I said, I should have taken notes. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that yes, this is in a way similar to A Court of Thorns and Roses, so yay. Points for this vlog, we proved our point. I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed The Court of Thorns and Roses, but would I enjoy it as much still if I was to read it now? Who knows? But good job recommending this book. I liked it, I had a good time reading it, and I don't like fantasy, and I like this one, so extra points just for that. One thing that you need to be aware going into this book is that it has insta love. Some people really annoys the heck out of them, as in Philippa, gets really annoyed by it, and even though it's not something that I really appreciate or I really like, it doesn't really bother me. Or at least in this book, I was just like, whatever, I'm here for the romance, I'm enjoying the cuteness of them getting to know each other. Yes, it's stupid going all, I love you, I love you, I love you, from like half an hour after they met. It's stupid, yes, but, you know, it's still cute and funny, and I still appreciate that. That being said, we now have a second book to read, and it arrived today here in the amazing Amazon parcel. There's something else in this box, so I'm just gonna open the box and then basically unbox the book here with you. Here is the book. It's a hardcover. Oh, it's so cute. It's one of those small hardcovers, isn't it? Yes, it is. Look here, next to a normal hardcover size. Yay! So this is Ziggy, Stardust and Me. This cover is really pretty, even though it's not really my style and like it's about David Bowie and whatever, but the colors are amazing. Suki, can you stop barking? God damn. Let's have a look at that. So this is going to be the next book we're going to be reading. This is a young adult, and supposedly this is similar to Aristotle and Dante discover the secrets of the universe. Is it really? Who knows? We're going to find out together and with Philippa, and I'll talk to you soon whenever we start reading this. Hello! So it's been a few days and I finally finished my second book for this video, which is Ziggy, Stardust and Me. It took me a while to finish this book, but I finally got it done last night. This book, if you remember correctly, we were reading because it's supposed to be similar to Aristotle and Dante discover the secrets of the universe. So let's start by comparing the two. Are they actually similar? Do they transmit the same kind of content, story, and also emotions? Yes, absolutely they do. This one is about two boys. One of them is very shy. My thoughts are gonna be all over the place in here, like they always do. But this story occurs in the 70s. So one of the boys, he's gay and is enduring treatment to cure his disease of being gay. And it's so heartbreaking reading those parts, which is another thing that I think it correlates to Aristotle and Dante. Not that there was any treatments in that book, but the heartbreakingness of reading this story. So there is some descriptions of those treatments that he endures, just the pain that he feels for feeling that he is sick, he has a disease, and he feels like he's wrong, he doesn't deserve love and anything really, because he does believe that he is sick. And obviously that's society pushing that thought onto him, also his dad, which is, I don't know, it's very heartbreaking. Those for me were the most emotional parts of this book. It didn't make me cry, but it did make me question a bunch of things, like what is this society doing to people? And yes, this takes place in the 70s, but in 2020 there is still lots of states in America where treatment for homosexuality is still legal. You can still get treatment for that, and also there are so many countries in the world where being gay is still a crime and it's punished by law. And it just blows my mind, how can something like that happen in 2020? He then meets Webb, this Native American Indian guy that shows up one day at his school. He falls in love with him, but always having in the back of his mind that he's wrong, that he cannot be gay, and he needs to keep his distance. We start to navigate the relationship of them becoming friends, and Jonathan still believing that he's wrong, and just his internal conflict. Now, Webb was raised in a very different way. He has a very acceptive family. They are all okay with him being gay, and they see it as an advantage. You are more open to the world and to experiences because you're not limiting your sexuality to just one genre. And that becomes more obvious towards the end of the book as we start meeting Webb's family. In general, and again, I don't want to go into too much detail about this book, it's basically about their relationship, the struggle of being gay. Is it wrong? Is it not? It is very heartbreaking. That's, as I said, one of the things that I think it in fact correlates to Aristotle and Dante, because that book is also very heartbreaking. Then the fact of Webb's family being so acceptive of him and the way he is also reminds me of Aristotle and Dante, because in that book we also have acceptive families. The fact that it occurs in the 70s also relates to Aristotle and Dante. I think Aristotle and Dante is in the 80s, I'm not sure, but still years ago, and a reality that at least I wasn't born back then. So you do see how things used to be. Also, Jonathan has this best friend of him, Starla. She's amazing, she's queer, and taking into consideration that this was happening in the 70s, she was so brave to defend the things she thinks about and go after her own beliefs and do her own thing, and she's not afraid of what society is gonna say or think of her. That was like breathing fresh air. I really like Starla and the way she thinks. She doesn't show up that much during the book because she goes on vacation or something. She pops in every now and then, and it's just so good. And their friendship, her and Jonathan, is so beautiful, and that's how a true friendship should be. Supportive, I'm here for you kind of thing. I hear you, I understand you. That for me is what a friendship should be. Even though I do think this book is very powerful and it has lots of emotions and it's beautifully written, I ended up only giving it 4 stars. For me, maybe because I'm not that much of a sentimentalist person when it comes to books, I don't even know how to put it in words. It was like it was missing something, but I cannot point exactly what it was missing, because I do recognize it was beautiful and emotional and all that, but it didn't resonate to me in like the deeper parts of my soul. Again, I don't know how to put this into words. So I did enjoy this. It is very emotional and I do absolutely recommend it. It's a great book and I don't regret reading it. In fact, I am very grateful for this video and for you guys to recommend this to us, because this was beautiful. I really enjoyed this book, but it's not a 5 stars for me. I don't know what it's missing. I just don't think it was that, it didn't mark me that much. Aristotle and Dante, it did. But again, maybe I read that 4 years ago by now, so maybe if I was to go read that now, I wouldn't give it a 5 stars either. I don't know, but 4 out of 5 I do recommend. And now, as a little wrap up of this video, we also have An Enchantment of Ravens, which ended up being also a 4 out of 5 stars book for me, even though it's a fantasy, so I'm shocked. I'm sure you're shocked as well. So overall, this video was an absolute success. I read 2 books that I'd never heard of. This one, I think I recognized the cover from somewhere, but I didn't know anything about it. So I read 2 books that were nowhere near my radar, and I gave them both 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. I had lots of fun reading this book, and even though I ended up not reading them as fast as I could, these books are definitely bingeable. You can read them in one afternoon. They're not that long and they are written in a very captivating way, both of them. So I could have read them faster, but I didn't. That's in part related to the fact that recently I'm not that much into reading, you know, maybe it's a reading slump, it happens, I don't know what it is, but you know, sometimes you just don't want to read that much. But if I was on my normal days, I would definitely have read this super fast, because these books are very interesting. They are both very well written, they are very easy to follow. If you are not used to reading English or something, the language they use is very basic, including the fantasy book. It is very basic language. It doesn't go into too much detail about fantasy world. No, I hate that. I don't have the patience to a lot of world building, so I did enjoy this one. So take my recommendations for what it is. I do think they are both similar to what they were supposed to be similar to. So we have this one supposed to be similar to A Court of Thorns and Roses. Check, I think it is. And this one supposed to be similar to Aristotle's and Dante. Check, I think it is. So if I was to make one of those videos, if you like this, you will probably like that. Then these two are a success for that. They would be similar to what we read them intending to be similar to. That's all I have to say. This video was a success. Now, does it prove a point that when you really like a book, you will like similar things to that? Maybe. I mean, this was obviously not a scientific experiment, but we did read books similar to things and we both really enjoyed them. So maybe when you like a book, you like something very specific about it. And even if you cannot pinpoint exactly what that thing is, if you find another book that has the same kind of plot and twists and narrative style, maybe you will enjoy that as well. Does that prove a point? I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Go check out Philippa's video. Don't forget, I'm gonna leave the link down there in the description for you to go watch her and see her thoughts on this. And you always seem to like the videos we do together, so I'm gonna take this opportunity to ask you if there is any videos that you'd like to see us do together, any challenges that we can do like side by side with the cameras or something, like we did the first video of this round, or just any concept that you'd like to see us test, like this one, then I don't know, anything that you'd like us to see doing together, then leave your suggestions down below in the comments and we'll get to them. And we like recording videos together. In fact, I love recording videos with Philippa. It's so fun. So we're looking for more suggestions. We like to do this, but it's not always easy to have ideas of videos you can easily correlate with someone else. So if you have those suggestions, let us know, and I'll see you very soon here on the channel for another video. Bye!